Novel Neighbor is an independent bookstore in Webster Groves that also offers community space that brings store and neighborhood closer together. From the Novel Neighbor, our event and programming manager, Amanda Ball-Clark, and director of operations, Andrea Scarpino. Welcome, Andrea and Amanda. So glad you guys could be here today.
Thank you.
So Novel Neighbor in Webster, you guys opened, what, 3 years ago? Something like that?
4 years.
4 years ago. Time flies.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that an independent bookstore is opening at a time when independent bookstores are going away. So fill us in a little bit on that.
Well, I would say, while it's definitely true that the independent bookstore industry is different than it used to be, it's actually shown to be on the rise. And it is because everything in our lives right now are so digital and removed that the bookstore is emerging as a place that people really do want to go to.
See,
the
that's
bookstore.
awesome. So I stand corrected. So they're not going away.
I think they were. There was a period where they were going away. I know when Holland first said that she was going to be opening this bookstore, I thought she was kind of crazy, right? Like, how is this going to survive? But I think there has been a turn towards wanting that space. I mean, people like to come just browse the aisles, which you can't do when you're in a digital environment. So it's different.
Holland Saltzman is the owner of Novel Neighbor, and so this was her brainchild, her dream, I suppose, to opening the store. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of that and what went through her mind in her decision to open it, not only open this independent, great little bookstore, but also in Webster Groves?
Well, the tagline of the store is where books, art, and people meet, and so it's more than just a bookstore, which is, the dream is to have the bookstore as well as a place for people to come together, and she's really created a space for that. And Webster's the perfect place because it's a great community. It's also a community of people that like to reach out and bring people from all over the city to it. We're really conveniently located. It's easy to find us, so it's just a great spot.
We have such great community support. I mean, people have really rallied around the bookstore, which is why I think we've done so well.
Well, and I was going to ask you that, Andrea. So are you finding that it's the neighbors, the local community that's frequenting the store? Do people meet up with each other there? Everyone kind of knows each other. Is that the feeling in the store?
I think in part, yeah. I mean, people also come to us as a stop on their vacation. Like, we have people come in all the time who are traveling who say, oh, I always love to come visit independent bookstores when I'm on vacation. So we definitely have that, but I think the strongest community support is in the Webster area, that people have really adopted the Novel Neighbor as their local meeting space as well as bookstore.
And that's phenomenal after just 4 years to have that kind of presence, and she's expanding. Or you are all expanding. You're all part of it now. And so let's talk about that. So it started out as a small space, a bookstore, primarily with some additional art space. Is that right? Correct.
So there's a little classroom space. They were able to host some smaller art classes. There was an artist space as well, studio space. And then about a little over a year ago, we expanded, almost doubled our size by adding on an event space. Space opened up in the building. We were able to take advantage of that. It's a beautiful, well-lit, big, wide-open room, and so we're able to rent that room out as well as host events.
Okay, so Andrea, what's the ratio between people renting that space for their own events versus the store holding your own events?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the ratio. Would you know?
I would say it's about 25% people renting it and using it. This week we hosted an election watch parties. Some weeks we host different groups use it in different ways, but mostly we use it for author events and our own programming and classes where we bring instructors in to teach all kinds of fascinating classes in there.
Yeah, and so what kinds of events? I mean, you guys have really ramped up on the event side, right? With something for everyone, basically.
But yes, we just announced, yesterday we announced our fall lineup of events at the store as far as our classes go. We have some great authors that we'll be hosting in the store and through our partners around the city. But as far as classes in the store, we're going to have a philosophy series. We're going to have a series called A Novel Tea, where we have a lady that will be hosting a tea as well as talking about traveling through England and all the locations that are connected. We have one of our most popular classes is Cocktails and Commas, where we have a phenomenal English teacher. We also make cocktails that are literary based.
Oh wow, that's interesting. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back and hear more about some of these really interesting events coming up. So stay with us at STL Live. We'll have more with Novel Neighbor after this break.